up, everyone? So on this rototiller, which I'm making a different video on, is a 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton. However, we discovered after taking the carburetor off that the tank is just disgusting. So this video is going to be solely about this tank. Now, hopefully you can kind of see what's happening in there. It's all rusted. There's no hole though. It is maintaining fluid, so that's good. Inside here is some of the most precious smelling fuel I've smelt in a long time. I think it's mostly water. We're going to dump that out and see what exactly is in there. To remove this isn't too difficult. What we need to do is there is a bracket and should just come right out. The hard part is sometimes, as in this situation, there's stuff that gets in the way. Sometimes you have stuff like this attached to it. This is a throttle cable. We're just going to remove everything. If you don't have a throttle cable, then that's fine. But just basically know that you're going to want to remove pretty much everything off of this. There we go. Put that off to the side. There's a kill wire, but it is fished in through the back, so I can't quite get it. Now, down here, there is it's either a 3/8 or 7/16. I think it's a 3/8 nut, or excuse me, bolt that we need to remove. Let's hope that this 3/8 and a wobble attachment is going to be working. I think I need to be where you are. Oh yeah, sorry. There we go, 3/8. Now there is a spring that is kind of in our way. It's kind of the only thing that should be holding on to it right now. But that spring is right there. Let's try to see it. There we go. Oh, that kill wire is not on the tank. That would make more sense, I suppose. So now we have our tank. That spring just fits over the governor arm, and here we go. Now it's off. We're going to take a container that we don't care about. I like using these little soda containers, and then we're put a little funnel there, and let's pour this what used to be fuel out. The worst part about this is you're inevitably going to spill a little bit. So you're going to have to smell it for a few days. It kind of smells like orange juice, weirdly enough. Never had that happen before. Okay, so that's the majority of it. Now we are going to look inside and see what exactly is happening inside there. This kind of propped up in the vise. Just gonna kind of poke around and see what's going on here. To be honest, it doesn't seem half bad. So there's two types of garbage I would say that you're gonna have to worry about. One is what we have here. It is gooey, it's disgusting, it smells horrible, but when you take a long screwdriver, as we just did, and try to reach the bottom of the tank, you can see bare metal. So that's good. So what I'm going to do is this. Oh, excuse me. And also the second one is when it's super crusty and flaky and nasty. That's the one you're going to have to do a little bit more work on. I'm going to take a pressure washer, and at that point I'm going to take my pressure washer, I'm going to shove the nozzle down the throat of this. I'm going to clean it out as best as I can, and then we're going to take a look at it and see if it really needs any additional work. That's boring, so just imagine me filling with water, moving it all around, dumping it out, filling with water, moving it all around, dumping it out. I personally just do it at the edge of the street. Now that it's done, I took the pressure washer, cleaned it all around. I did not do in here though. I'm going to do that with a wire brush. But something to explain, I then took it to my little garage sink, put hot water in there, that way it's steaming. I would like to have just hot water for this next step. This is MAP gas, you can use propane, doesn't matter. I just want to get a dry. The best way to dry it is with heat. As the metal gets hot, everything just, dries. So I'm gonna let it sit for a moment, let it cool, make sure it's all dry. Alternatively, if you don't want to do this method, if it's a summer day, you can just let it sit out in the sun, just shake it out really thoroughly. If it's in the winter time, overnight, upside down, it's probably a pretty good idea. But like I said, it's just propane or MAP gas, so I prefer doing this method because it's just easier for me. Now it's dry and semi-cool. I have a bucket or a container full of nuts and bolts, just random sizes. I'm gonna put some in there. The reason why is it's like 80% clean. I can't really get too much on the top. There usually isn't a whole lot of problem on the top of the tank because water doesn't usually defy gravity. But condensation will build up and sometimes there will be an issue on the top. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to make an obscene amount of noise by shaking it back and forth, up and down, left, right, everywhere you can think of. Now that that's done, you see there's a little bit of rust dust coming off. That means there was a little bit more. So I'm going to rinse it out and then do the heat trick again and be right back. While we are letting this cool for the second time, I'm going to explain when you rinse it out, you want to make sure nothing's dripping, kind of dry it off with water in a tank, and then see if it's leaking. If you have any pinhole leaks, this is an excellent time to find them. Majority of the time, if you do, they're obviously going to be on the bottom. You can repair them. It's just not easy. Usually because it's a pinhole, I would take like a wire brush and clean this area around as best as you can. And what I'll do is I'll take like a quick little tack weld and just tack it. Sometimes that works if the metal is thick enough around to support it. Sometimes it won't. But at the same time, if it doesn't, well, your tank's ruined anyway. Another common location is going to be in here for there to be a pinhole. That's not super important. It will be a giant pain, however, because every time that you won't go to restart it, you have to refill it. And with it leaking out, it's just going to be hard to start every single time. But it will run, just not going to be easy to start. Having said that, I don't have any pinholes, otherwise I'd show you, but a quick tack is your friend in that situation. Paint it afterwards so it doesn't start to re-corrode, at least on the outside, and you should be set. They do make like a tank seal or tank repair it's like a putty or a paste. In my experience of work, briefly, momentarily, especially if it's on something like a rototiller, that never really lasts too long. It's just better just to weld it up if you can. If not, then, well, you can use those pastes or whatever they are. This next part is very important. You are going to want to clean out this little cavity in the center here. How this carb works is it pulls fuel from the bottom of the tank, pulls it through the fuel pump, and then deposits it in here. Right here, you see how it's notched? The fuel spills over back into the tank, so it's consistently pulling fuel, and what's actually being used is coming through here. So if we leave this dirty, then we're gonna just be asking for clogged jets, and I don't want to ask for clogged jets. So we can get some safety glasses, gonna get a Dremel, and on our Dremel I have a wire brush. It'd be better if it was kind of not facing out but more going down, but can't find that one, so I'm just going to work on that real quick and come back. Now to double check there's no hole, I'm going to put a little carb cleaner down here. Let's see if I can see anything dripping. It's going to be dual purpose too, because it's a little dusty in there after using a Dremel. And we're going to use it to kind of clean out some of that dust. It's definitely pitted. I do not see any holes. Sounds good. So it's going to shove this down, kind of soak it up a little bit. It will evaporate, so I'm not going to worry too much about it, but that's good. Let's take a look at it now. Significantly better. Not perfect, but significantly better. Next is also, I would say, pretty important. Not as important, but it'd be a good idea. When you take off the carburetor, you're inevitably going to have a little bit of the gasket remaining. It's just what happens. And since it does happen, we're going to want to remove that amount. So this is a brass brush on my drill, and I'm going to go around and kind of clean up the surface really good. And here we go. Let's take a look at it. Don't know how well you can see in there. Let me see if I can get you a good angle. I think with a little light on the subject makes it a little easier. But as you can tell, it's pretty clean. There are some spots here and there that aren't. But, you know, from what it came from is significantly better. So this is an easy one, but let me explain the real difference here. The only real difference is going to be this. If cleaning it with the pressure washer wasn't good enough, then after that, what I would have done is I would have gone to any cheap store, a dollar store, whatever that sells food, and buy some vinegar, like $1.50 for like a gallon. Fill this thing all the way up and let it sit overnight. At that point, drain it out, pressure wash it again, redo the drying, all that stuff, and you should be pretty good. Now, you can do acid. You could do muriatic acid. That is sold in a lot of different places. Your normal hardware store probably has it. I think it's used in concrete primarily, at least that's how it's marketed. You could fill it with acid. Only problem is you don't want to let it sit there overnight. You have to pay close attention to it. It can spill. It's really hard to work with. It's just not a good idea. If your tank is so far gone and you need acid, I just wouldn't. If your tank is really, really bad, you can just let the vinegar sitting there for about 2 days, 3 days, just know that it will eventually eat through it, so beware. But I guess I was a little rough in saying this is an easy one. It doesn't happen all the time. And unless it's been sitting for a very long time, I'm talking like 5 to 10 years or longer, this method is going to work. So if it's just been sitting in the shed for a couple years and you see rust and nasty in there, this is what you're going to have to do. It's just really, really old ones that it's going to be a problem, and we have to use the vinegar. But that's really not that bad. It just takes a lot longer, and it's really not horrible, and vinegar doesn't burn you. It smells bad, but it doesn't burn you. This tank, brand new, last time I checked, was over $100, so doing these simple steps will save your tank. So what did we learn? Rusty tank can be saved. We remove the carb, remove the tank, pressure wash it out, clean it thoroughly, take some nuts and bolts, rattle it around to clean up the remaining part of it. I probably did that for a good 10 or 15 minutes. Cleaned it out one more time, dried it out one more time, cleaned everything in here. And at this point, if you really wanted to, you can't paint it, just cover these little ports and you should be fine. It will look good, should run normal. You can buy special coatings if you want. I just don't usually do that because they are more of a pain, to be honest, in my opinion. But you know, you can do that. In general though, if you keep this full of non-ethanol, then you won't have to worry about it. It's just the empty tanks that really kind of go through this process, or the tanks that are have ethanol in them, because over the course of the temperature changes, condensation will occur, water will go in there, and even if it's in a shed, you'll still have water inside the tank. I'll leave you at that. Have a good day. See you later. Definitely subscribe. Follow me at Small Engine 101 on Instagram, and I'll catch you in the next video. You have a good rest of your day.